Our next topic and our next speaker is Mr. Mike Brennan. Mike is a partner with Mercer and the co-founder of LeapGen. He leads the U.S. Services Organization at Mercer LeapGen, a firm he co-founded 7 years ago before it was acquired by Mercer for its digital HR capabilities. Mike has more than 20 years of enterprise consulting experience and a strong record for partnering with customers and building high-performing teams really across the nation. And I'd like to tee up a little bit of Mike's conversation. We all recognize that organizations understand, and we all understand that organizations' ability to thrive really depends on our ability, our collective ability to have a thriving and energizing workforce. A little bit follow on from our morning's presentation. And done well, the employee experience can help transform the mere process of, or the mere design of processes into the delivery of meaningful journeys. And while processes deliver and generate data, journeys really generate feelings, something different. They allow people to truly experience the significance of a moment. Imagine the impact in a moment, many of the moments that we experience in the workplace, that this difference can create when delivering recognition, celebration, engagement, or feedback, or any other major event in the employee life cycle. So join us and join Mike this morning in this thought-provoking session to generate insights into the challenges of delivering holistic, seamless, and frictionless employee journeys. Mike, so great to have you. Let's welcome Mike.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it. Hi, everyone. Very excited to be in Madison. How many Madison locals do we have? Okay, so good number. I want to congratulate you. I've never been to Madison before. I've been to Milwaukee a bunch. I was just doing a little research over the weekend before coming in. Madison recently voted by Neighbors.com as the most neighborly city in the U.S. So please give yourselves a round of applause. I flew in from Boston, so I have kind of a skewed really perspective of Madison. I went to BU, have a lot of friends, former classmates who played hockey, and they wouldn't describe Madison as neighborly at all. So never too late to teach an old dog new tricks, but really appreciate everyone's time and energy today. What we're going to be doing is moving through various aspects of the workforce experience. And one of the things that Chris didn't mention in my introduction is one of my biases. And it's a very conscious bias at that. I'm an optimist. So what we'll be doing today is, for the next 25 minutes or so, going through what an experience is, why they're important. Given this is an innovation conference and given my background, which is largely in what I'll call digital, and we'll get into what I mean by digital in just a bit, I have never been more optimistic about the power of digital to provide better experiences to the workforce at scale. 20 plus years ago when I got my start, it was writing a business plan for an e-learning startup that focused on driving equitable distribution of high school advanced placement courses, no matter where you lived. So if you were, for those of you familiar with the advanced placement program, you can get college credit while you're in high school. I fell in love with the idea of being able to provide what we call moments that matter today to high school students that they wouldn't have had otherwise. So it wasn't simply throwing technology at a problem. It was thinking about a problem holistically and logistically in order to drive possibilities for people, solutions for people. And today, 20 plus years later, I've never been more optimistic about the power of digital and the opportunity that HR has to drive greater experiences using digital and being digital. So in terms of the why behind experience, wanted to just cite some research. As Maji mentioned, as did Chris, the slides will be available. I've got data. I'm kind of a left-brainer on the slide. Don't feel compelled to take notes on stats or anything along those lines. You'll have that available following the presentation. But what we're really finding, and a lot of this was accelerated by COVID, is that the focus on experience is being driven by a number of sociological, geopolitical, macroeconomic factors. The war for talent is over. Talent won. And we should all be thankful for that because everyone in this room represents talent. So in terms of the work that we've been doing with customers, and I've seen this trend happening steadily up until 2020 and then accelerate after 2020, is really a focus on the whole person. And really what the covenant is between a worker, and I'm intentionally not using the word employee, in fact I should use a better word, human person, with the workplace, with the provider of pay, benefits, services that meet the needs of the worker, whether you're a candidate, considering an organization, a contractor who does work for the organization, a loved one who has really special concerns about maybe benefits that the organization offers, to alumni. And in terms of the research that Mercer has done in recent years, what we have found is that over the course of really starting in the late 90s, moving to today, there has been this decoupling of workers simply coming to work for a paycheck and the thought around careers and what can this organization do for me. And to do this at scale, you do need digital. But really when we talk about a focus on experience, make no mistake, it's really about focusing on people and their needs. And right now, and for the foreseeable future, as an optimist, I hope indefinitely, and expect indefinitely, we will have a lifestyle contract where the work life integrates with the personal life with the appropriate boundaries, and that the employer is doing what they can to make that integration as seamless as possible. So in terms of the work that my team and I have done, years ago we started, one of my colleagues actually, Jim Scully, down in Atlanta, he co-founded the HR Shared Services Institute. So very much looking at the transformations that were happening around HR. So this was in the late 90s, and by the mid-2000s, he started an annual HR service delivery study. And we'd focus on transformation, synonym change, another synonym reimagine. So what we have found over the past really decade plus is that the motivations behind transformation within HR have moved from we need to find cheaper labor, more efficient processes, we need to wring as much cost as we can out of HR, to we need to deliver a better workforce experience. And that is the greatest opportunity in my mind that HR has to drive the success of the organization. You wring costs out of HR, what does that really do for a shareholder? HR expenses, in terms of operating expenses, maybe represent, depending on the org, 1%, maybe a little bit more of operating expenses for an organization. A transformation that is really aimed at driving cost out, how much value can that truly drive? And I don't know about you, most HR people that I've worked with over the past 20 plus years, they don't have a lot of time on their hands. They don't have an abundance of resources to work with. And what's been encouraging, as you can see, is that the number one driver behind what is driving transformation in HR is serving the workforce more effectively, providing a better service experience, much like one would when going to an advisor for maybe your finances, or shopping for a gift for that special someone. Really providing experiences, and from a career standpoint, we're talking about life-altering decisions, being able to be there for people in the moments that matter. So we'll get into how technology can enhance this. I'll cover a little bit around AI. That's obviously a hot topic, so a little bit of a geek in my spare time too, so I'll show you something I've been tinkering with leading up to the presentation here. But at its core, an experience is represented by this equation. So an interaction or a set of interactions plus a decision that someone makes and potentially a transaction. And as someone who's been building teams within HR consulting for a while now, I will say, and I had anyone familiar with OSMs, what an OSM is? I'll keep it G-rated, it's a no shucks moment. those can be very good or very bad. I had one about 8 or 9 years ago that was very bad. For me personally, it was a humbling, I shouldn't say bad, it was humbling, so it was actually good and I learned from it. But that humbling moment was recognizing that, boy, as an HR consultant who's been helping to supposedly design better experiences for people, for the better part of my career, I've actually been part of the problem, not part of the solution. And my realization came when I got to spend about half my time at a firm focused on projects that were geared toward customer relationship management and solutions that were focused on developing better relationships for customers. At the end of the day, driving more wallet share from customers. And what I recognized was, wow, now I get it. Now I understand why when I go to work, it doesn't necessarily feel, from an experience standpoint, even down to the most simple requests sometimes, like I do in my consumer life. So I had to do some soul searching, quickly came across, after doing a little bit of research, a concept of human-centered design, or more commonly known as design thinking, and it really changed the trajectory of how I look at HR problems, which are really people problems, which are organizational challenges. So from an interaction perspective, when you think about your own work lives, for those of you who are HR professionals, and Maji touched on this a bit, where do you want to spend your time from an interactions perspective? From an interactions perspective, do you want to spend time getting badges for people, or helping them answer frequently asked benefits questions? Someone might truly need help, but there are other ways to push information to them in a personalized way to empower those folks to make decisions so that HR can spend its time on what Maji referred to as higher value add activities, I believe was the term. And I've heard enough HR professionals in my time, myself included, saying, I want HR to be more strategic. HR being more strategic really starts at this interaction and transaction level. So in looking at process design versus experience design, over HR's history, the design, when jamming in a system or taking a year and a half to put in a system, has largely focused on the decisions and transactions. But how does this actually translate? I engage with a process, say from an onboarding perspective, one of the examples that we have here, and I'm presented with a transaction that asks me about effective date. What does that actually mean? As an HR person, as an HR service provider, you're actually speaking to me in a language that I don't even understand. So humanizing experiences really starts with these interactions, and using digital can actually help you do it at scale, do more with the same, do more with less. And we'll spend a good amount of time over the next 10, 15 minutes or so focusing on how digital can help. So what I'd like to do, and I know we've got some remote participants on the line here. For those of you who can use your scanner, I know some of you are far back, use your scanner and take this quick survey. And I know we've got folks online, so I wanted you to be able to weigh in too. If you're not able to weigh in to this poll, because you're toward the back of the room, we can go with some verbal input as well. But the question here is, what year is it inside your organization? So I made some references, before you answer, I made some references to experiences that we have outside work. We may engage with them inside work. We're taking a break, we book some travel, we buy a gift, we do a little bit of research on whatever topic of the day is. If those are experiences, hailing a ride from Uber or Lyft, if that's 2023 outside work, when you think about the experiences inside work, what year is it in your organization? This is a question that we ask pretty much all of our clients. So I'm just going to pull up the results here as we go. Interesting scatter plot here. Well, looks like we're starting to settle in after 57 votes. Looks like we're starting to settle in right around anywhere from 2010 to the late teens, so up to 2020. So in terms of that gap, we'll work with organizations all the time that answer the question the same exact way. Therein lies an opportunity. Therein lies an opportunity to provide better experiences for people, and the opportunity in terms of HR professionals to develop skills, to work with colleagues that you can learn from, that you may not have worked with before. So in terms of the mindset, and we'll get into digital mindset and what a digital mindset, what a good one looks like and feels like. These are just some stats that we pulled from a couple of recent surveys. When a lot of folks hear digital, they immediately think technology. These statistics really just show that there continues to be investment in technology, but low expectations on what the outcomes will be in terms of, are people going to use the technology, or are they actually using it? Have we actually driven the kind of transformation that we wanted to? Are we getting the ROI that we committed to in the business case? Or are we not spending enough time implementing the technology, getting people's attention, pull them from their day jobs to really truly reimagine what we're doing, getting stretched too thin, only hoping to get to the go live, so to speak, and then move back into their day jobs with little thought, I should say, on what the technology is doing to support what should be an agile function. HR needs to be an agile function. Adaptability is really the last competitive advantage that any of our organizations have in the world. That's the one common thread in terms of competitive advantage across industries. It's adaptability. HR needs to be the same way. Having an agile digital operating model supported by good technology is something that is, in my mind, incumbent upon HR organizations, IT organizations as their partners, leadership within the organization to drive not just more investment in, but better outcomes from. Sorry to end that on a preposition. My high school English teacher, AP English, would not have been pleased with that. So I mentioned being digital. So what we do with a lot of our customers is help them digitalize their operating models. And by digitalize, really we look at digital as the equation that you see on the screen here. So mindset, people, process, technology. We've all heard people, process, technology before. A lot of us have heard mindset. Sometimes maybe not in the context of digital. A digital mindset is an optimist mindset. It's an innovator's mindset. From a workforce experience perspective, it's a marketer's mindset. What's also happened over those past 20 plus years that I was showing on the chevron a few slides ago, the world's gotten a lot smaller. We've globalized as organizations more so than we ever have. In terms of the mindset, it's actually coming to a determination that we are going to do things differently. We are going to have to develop new roles. We're going to have to put people in those roles. This is a conscious decision. We need to develop a digital strategy so that when we talk about what is that HR operating model or operating system in the sense of mindset, people, process, and technology, what do we want to be? Where do we want to be over the next year, the next 2 years? From a mindset perspective, what problems do we want to solve? What is the business strategy? What is the workforce strategy? What are the must-win battles that we have now? Let's work that into our strategy so that when it comes to making investments in whether it's digital programs with reimagined processes, which we'll get to next, be it onboarding, be it career growth and development. That's from the standpoint of talent winning. A lot of organizations that I've worked with in recent years, the focus has been on career growth and development. The number one reason people leave our organization is because they don't feel like they've got career growth and development opportunities. Seeing this in financial services, tech, biotech, really across many more industries than that. And what we have found after doing some of that human-centered design, just listening to the workforce as we move into the people dimension, is that people don't know that all of these great resources and programs exist. So we've got folks in HR saying we make all of these investments, we focus on leaders, we focus on skills development, the workforce either doesn't have the time or they don't know where to find the stuff because it's buried on a portal or a link farm somewhere, and they really have to dig for what information is most valuable to them. Some organizations are better than others in terms of removing, as Chris put it when he was introducing me, reducing friction from point A to point B. One morning I may get out of bed and have breakfast with my wife, and she might say, hey, weren't you going to be the CEO of your company 5 years ago? What are you doing about that? What steps are you taking to get there? That's one motivation for me to get up and say, okay, well, from a career development perspective, what's available to me as far as career paths go based on the current role that I'm in, the skills that I have, the aspirations that I have. Another morning, I may go into the office and meet with my manager, and he may say, or she may say, pump the brakes, dude. You want to be a better project manager? You need to start managing budgets because you're not doing it very well right now. Maybe you should go take a course or maybe even get your a PMO certification. That's a different motivation, but on those two different mornings, that's career growth and development to me. So it's really in just the context of career growth and development, or talent management as HR likes to call it. How are we making that experience more consumer-like? If I buy something on Amazon, research it, buy it, it comes to my house, maybe I go rate it, I've interacted with, on average, about 140, 145 different systems. I wouldn't know that because Amazon packages it for me in a way that removes the friction, makes it as easy for me as possible. I'm not expecting for an HR organization today to flip a switch and become Amazon in terms of the experiences it delivers, but that's the direction in which we need to head. So that's the marketing mindset. From a people perspective, it is going out and actually listening to people. So when we work with customers on experiences, we ask, well, do you have a pulsing program? And what can we do to pulse folks based on your HR strategy, based on workforce challenges that you're having? Let us get a look at your case data. What are the inquiries that are coming in? How do we optimize people's experiences so that they don't have to reach out to HR, commonly known as case deflection for you service delivery pros out there. In terms of the people within HR, it's also about creating new roles in HR. Experience designer, scrum manager for agile work. These are new professions within HR. And you can recruit from outside HR, even within your own organization, to get those roles filled. Looking at process and journey and really moving away from the mindset that I used to have of, boy, like I'm an HR geek. We're going to reimagine this process. And it's like me around the holidays at my house. I want to hang every decoration known to man or that I can lay my hands on in the house, and it looks awful. The tree that we have, it looks like it's about to fall under the weight of the ornaments, because over those years before I had that realization, I was an HR person designing for HR, not actually taking the input from people, listening to what their challenges are relative to where HR has aspirations of its own in terms of reducing turnover, becoming an employer of choice, just a couple of different examples, and designing journeys using technology. Technology has a place in empathy. That's not a word that you often hear thrown around when you refer to technology. It actually helps balance economics and empathy because it frees up time of people to do that empathetic work. It can also personalize services, whether it's screening candidates and removing bias as much as possible from the process, or recommending things to folks based on things that they've done before or skills that they have. Here's an adjacent skill in terms of something that you can pursue. Then technology, the technology is ready. There's already a lot of consumer-like technology out there. In fact, as a consultant and as an organization, we don't have a horse in the race when it comes to technology and what you should be using. Our only bias, I'll use that word again, our only bias is let's take a look at what you have first. Because back to the slide that we were just looking at, a lot of money thrown at HR technology. Sometimes it's just a matter of looking inward and saying, how do we get more value out of what we're already using by focusing on these first three dimensions. So as you can see, when it comes to a digital mindset, we actually de-emphasize the the technology and really start with that idea of reimagining the function and how service experiences are delivered to the workforce. So just in terms of the current state of affairs and really the opportunity that we see, this data comes from another study that we recently did. And in terms of the first question that we ask around mindset, and then as we get into people, is who owns workforce experience at the organization? Or even if we were to focus on one journey, I mentioned onboarding. Who owns onboarding? Well, I own the onboarding module in my HR system, or I own the HR part of onboarding. No, who owns onboarding for the person in the empty chair, the employee, new hire, the hiring manager that you're designing this for, in order to make it as seamless as possible on them? That cross-functional input's needed. That subject matter expertise is needed. With a lack of ownership around experience, there's no accountability for it, so there's an opportunity. On the people front, only 16% of the folks that we surveyed in HR, mostly mid-size and really large organizations, indicated that they gather feedback from their workforce on how to improve the workforce experience. So doing listening, ideally leveraging technology so that you can scale it. And then lastly, lacking personalization. Only 12% of the respondents that got in touch with us said that they use basic HR data like location, department, function, maybe benefits choices and such, to actually personalize experiences for folks. All opportunities to take the empathy that HR professionals typically, or really good ones, have inherently and scale it economically. So I just wanted to show you something that I tinkered with 3 months ago, and then show you how far along we've come since then. So in terms of HR experiences and what they might look like, I started playing with ChatGPT. Many of you may have started doing that yourselves. And what I did was simply leverage the large language model that ChatGPT uses and ask some common questions. So I need to verify employment for a loan application, maybe tied to a mortgage. I need to take a parental leave. Depending on the circumstances, might be much more charged. If the baby's coming 2 months early, that experience may look very different than someone else's. But as a starting point, when we ask HR functions to just start us on this journey of where would I go to find the answers, ChatGPT, outside having access to company-specific policies and resources and so forth, actually did a really good job. This took about me 5 minutes just to create an account and pose a couple of queries. 3 months later, in preparation for this, I wanted to better understand truly, within 5 minutes, how could I leverage AI to really make a better version of myself, or a different version of better. So this, I just want to test the audio there real quick. This is me addressing a health benefits question in Portuguese. So in 5 minutes, I logged on to this HeyGen. It's a platform out there, fed its large language model, wasn't HR content in it, and asked it a question related to medical benefits. Spent about 30 seconds syncing up my voice to get it to recognize me, took my LinkedIn profile picture. You can actually create an avatar that would have taken another 2 or 3 minutes. I was a little bit lazy, so I didn't do it. And this is me answering the question in Portuguese.
Única quando se trata de seguro-saúde. Dependendo de suas necessidades, você deve considerar os prêmios mensais.
Is that the right experience for everyone in every situation? No. But what I'm showing you is the possibilities that the technology offers. My father-in-law is Portuguese. That would actually validate me more in his eyes than much of what I've done as a husband and a father the past 20 plus years, being married to his daughter. But really, this is an example of a small one of HR being able to stand on the shoulder of bots. This is providing me with capabilities I didn't have. Could easily be, just as easily been delivered via a chat bot. But the idea here is, if we've got a segment of the workforce that I cannot communicate with very well, and no one else with those skills is immediately available, this just shows one alternative. Entire conversations, it would take a little bit longer than 5 minutes, but can be designed around some of those commonly asked questions so that I can spend time on what I enjoy doing, what I got into HR to do potentially, and that is, my background is in learning and development, as I mentioned, and that's to focus on what most of you would consider to be talent management. So just a quick example, like literally a 5-minute investment. The technology is out there and ready. I'm not saying just throw technology at every problem you have, but think about the possibilities that you have available to you when working through the rest of that equation. So I just want to leave you with this quick alliteration of hands, heads, and hearts. When it comes to digital, as Maji eloquently put it, really what we're wanting to do is leverage technology to do as much of the hands work as possible, some of the logical work as it relates to heads, in order to free up HR leaders and professionals to do more with their heads, and most importantly, more with their hearts, and bring that love to the workplace and really differentiate yourselves in terms of the workforce experience. So with that, sorry, I know I went about 2 minutes over there. Katie will go ahead and take questions.
If you go back a few slides, it was your
Sure.
priorities slide. I think it had employee experiences number 1.
You want to hear me again? No, just kidding. All right.
Wait, nope, go forward.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
This one? Sorry.
that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. So I was wrestling with people insights being number 4. I would have probably put it number 1 because I'm not sure how else you understand how to prioritize the employee experience or the consolidation of systems. Can you help me wrestle with that a bit?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm going to surmise that when people answered the people insights question, they might have been thinking about analytics a bit differently. I wasn't that close to the survey, so I can't truly say, but when some folks answer questions related to insights, they think about what's turnover look like in this organization, how are we predicting baby boomer retirement in this region on us as an organization? What's the knowledge gap going to be? And that tends to be a little bit more aspirational than most HR, even digital HR functions that we work with would prioritize at this stage of the game. Thanks for the question. Any others? Any other questions, folks? Yep, in the middle. The mic's coming to you, sorry.
What site did you use to do the Portuguese video?
Oh, it's called HeyGen, H-E-Y-G-E-N.
The question was which site was used to make the Portuguese video.
Thanks, Kate. Anyone have any other language preferences? So I am curious, for those who answered the poll earlier, as it relates to what year is it inside your organization, I'm curious if anyone in the room has a clear path to the 2020s if you're not already there in terms of making those experiences for new employees or employees that you have on board already interested in exploring what career resources they might have or what benefits they have available to them, who actually feels like they're on a clear path to the 2020s if you're not there already. Anyone? Yeah?
My boss's boss here isn't.
So good fodder for your next performance discussion. Yeah. Who's already there? Who's already in the 2020s? It was an anonymous survey, so couldn't see who said what. Okay, interesting. There weren't many in the 2020s, so some of them might have been online. In any event, if folks are interested in taking our digital capabilities assessment or having any additional questions asked, the assessment that we do essentially breaks down how digital you are by those 4 different dimensions that I mentioned earlier. It takes about an hour or so. It's a facilitated discussion using a survey, but we can essentially help you assess your digital capabilities maturity. So if you're interested in being more digital as an HR organization, as a people function, certainly happy to help. But LinkedIn info and email here if you care to reach out. Thanks, everyone.